Wow, guys, so what the heck is going on with Ohio State in regards to their NIL issues, missing on 3 elite 5-star pass rushers, mainly due to not having the funds, and now it's all coming out. I want to talk about everything. We've got Ohio State's biggest NIL collective having a total meltdown on Twitter about this, calling out the fans, saying they're not donating enough. It is a complete and utter mess. And then we've got Ohio State possibly being a goody two-shoes and not wanting to, do anything against the NCAA's rules when it's very clear at this point there are no rules. You've got 95% of these programs blatantly cheating and paying kids. Of course, they're not going to face any discipline because when everyone cheats, you're not going to bull ban 20 different schools. None of these schools that are currently cheating will face any sort of discipline. Georgia, Alabama, Miami, A&M, any of them. But it is nice that we've got Ohio State really coming out and saying, listen, this is happening. Reporters are now saying Ohio State missed out on a 5-star recruit, and this is a top 15 overall player. I know who they're talking about, pass rusher from Georgia, because they couldn't even offer, apparently they couldn't pay for even half of what this kid was looking for. They got to $750,000. That was their best offer. Georgia offered him $1.8 million, including $800,000 per year. Ohio State could not get over $500K. So this is a major issue, and there was kind of talk about the Ohio State recruiting situation in regards to how they were going to finish. They were in it for 3 5-star pass rushers. The, minimum was supposed to be 1. Maybe they would get lucky and land 2 of them. Turns out they're not going to land any of them. And this is apparently mainly due to NIL. Now, I don't know how true this is, but, I heard they're saying that Ohio State very likely would have had 3 different 5-star defensive players, including, get this, a good old friend, Caleb Downs. Guys, I actually looked up Caleb Downs' recruiting ranking, and now he's 7th overall in the nation. That kid is a beast. I haven't been looking at the recruiting, but guys, this is unbelievable. I don't know how you have the number 1 fan base. Every data, every analytical model, Ohio State number 1 in views per season, highest ratings. Every time they do fan base studies, Ohio State has the biggest by far, and they totally botch NIL. I don't know if it's are the boosters not giving? Is Ohio State trying to play by the rules when no one else is? It's looking like it's a combination of those two things, and now we've got Ohio State's own big collective, or I should put big in quotations. Obviously, they're not very big. They don't have any money. The foundation, and apparently Cardale Jones is involved with the foundation. He comes out in response to this tweet that Ohio State lost out on a 5-star, and this is what Cardale says. He says, fake news. But then look at what he says after. OSU didn't miss out on any kid just chasing NIL money. Maybe the kid missed out on an opportunity to be a part of something amazing that's going to last longer than any amount of money. Cardale, you can't claim something as fake news and then basically admit it's true in the same tweet. The person is saying that Ohio State missed out on a 5-star because they didn't have the money, and you're saying basically that that's true because, it's the experience. You got to understand. Guys, listen, we all love certain universities. We get it. But let's be real about it. If you're choosing between Ohio State and Georgia, when it comes to putting players in the NFL, Georgia might have the advantage in that, in terms of defensive players. And then on top of that, Georgia is offering you more money. It's an obvious choice. Anyone is going to pick Georgia. Let's be realistic about it. This NIL situation is a major issue, and Cardale Jones says fake news, but then admits that it's true and that Ohio State only wants players that are going to be a part of the brotherhood. Bro, you got to wake up, man. You're recruiting against Georgia. It's already an uphill battle. If you can't match them with NIL money, you're not going to beat them for anyone. I mean, look at, that's just ignorance. Georgia had 5 first-round picks on the defensive side of the football, and you want a 5-star to come to Ohio State because of the brotherhood? That is just totally ridiculous. It makes no sense. And then you can see this comment, Cardale, respectfully, our NIL ain't getting it done. We can't keep missing out on players due to money. And then the foundation, which honestly should be defunded, comes out and says, have you donated and helped? So the OWN collective is going against the fan base now. It is a total mess in Columbus. And guys, I think if you don't adapt to this NIL thing, you will be left behind. I thought Ohio State was, you had the situation last year where Ohio State had a very similar close to their recruiting class, which was not good. And then this year, it's the exact same thing. They made no adjustment. The foundation completely botched how NIL situation should work. If you want to run an NIL collective, you need to invest $1 million into a proper website. You need to set up a per month payment plan, and you say tier 1 is $5, tier 2 is $10, tier 3 is $20. It's a monthly subscription. It's just like paying for Spotify or something like that. You don't even know it's happening. It's an auto renew, and you say, listen, if you donate $5 per month, you get this benefit. If you donate $10, if you donate $20, that's what should have been done. They completely botched this thing from the start, and they are desperately paying for it, but you would think it really wouldn't matter. You would think Ohio State would have the boosters to be able to fund these players' contracts. I think the whole idea of asking fans to pay for 5-star players who are already getting a free scholarship, I think that's ridiculous. The boosters should be able to take care of that. That's just my opinion. But it really isn't even a situation where it's just Ohio State. Look at Michigan recruiting. So Michigan beats Ohio State in back-to-back years, and their recruiting classes get worse, significantly worse, because it's the exact same problem Ohio State has. They don't have the money. They don't want to play outside of the rules. Who knows what it is? But you can see the foundation says you can't pay recruits. We can talk to them and educate them about our collective, which we are doing and has helped, but let other schools violate the NCAA rules, not us. So they're coming out and they're taking a strong stance. Really, at this point, when it comes to the NCAA rules, they're not being enforced. And my question to whoever is running this account, what do you think happens? You've got Miami doing illegal things. You've got Alabama doing illegal things. You've got Georgia doing illegal things. You've got Texas doing illegal things. You've got Oregon doing illegal things. Do you really think the NCAA is going to punish all those schools? Gee, I wonder. No, they're not going to. What they're going to do if they actually do try and get it under control is they will put some rule in and say, listen, whatever happened is done. It's in the past. From here, you're not allowed to do this. They'll put a rule in place and say, we're not investigating anything from the past because we'd have to bull ban 30 schools, which they're obviously not going to do. And realistically, it's a bad look and horrible publicity for the NCAA. Even though this is ridiculous, it would make the NCAA, if they went down on and really punished some of these schools, you would have all the mainstream people at ESPN saying, these kids are just trying to get paid. How dare the NCAA? So it would be a terrible look for them anyways. So this whole idea of saying we're going to follow the rules, that's very naive. Very naive when you look at what's actually happening in college football and understanding if you want to keep up in this arms race, you're going to have to fork over money. And I just think the whole idea that Ohio State is going to beat out Georgia for a pass rusher because they have, the brotherhood and stuff, and he shouldn't come here for money. Georgia can offer money, but that's ridiculous. You have to offer these kids money, especially you're facing Georgia for a defensive recruit. They just put 5 players in the first round. You're already up against it. So this whole thing is such ignorance by Ohio State. You either need to get on board and pay the kids or you're going to get left behind. I will say Ohio State has a good recruiting class. They do. There's no super talent. There's no superstar recruit in their recruiting class, but And obviously their recruiting class is going to fall because they're really not supposed to get anyone else. At least I don't think they are. But I haven't been following recruiting too closely outside of Ohio State being in it for 3 5-star defensive linemen, and they're losing them all to NIL. You can see there's other tweets. Ohio State's NIL issues are a real concern. It's a complete mess in Columbus. Lack of direction, planning, and support starting to hurt the football program. And that's really a great explanation of what it is by this dude. There's no direction. It was put together sloppy. There's no setup. There's no month-to-month investment into it, where what they should have done is they should have made a really nice website. They should have given fans perks to actually make it, motivate people to invest into it. There's so many things you can do online with certain badges and things like that people like that kind of crap. Studies have shown. And say, listen, $10 a month, this is what you get. That you get access to ABC. And really you help the NIL situation, but it never should come to this. The money from the fan base should be kind of a secondary thing. The boosters, the multi-millionaire, the billionaire boosters for Ohio State should be the ones paying for this. And if they don't want to pay for it, then you're going to be Wisconsin. So, it is what it is. If that's your choice, that's fine. Or no, you'll be a better version of Wisconsin, because Ohio State still does. They still do have a good recruiting class, even with this current situation. So guys, it is mind-blowing right now what's going on with Ohio State. And again, the NIL thing, it's not just affecting Ohio State. You look at something like Michigan, again, they beat Ohio State and their class has gotten worse because their NIL is not up to par. It's crazy. If you look at Michigan's class, you would think breaking through and finally beating Ohio State would help. Now, I'm sure Harbaugh flirting with the Vikings last year didn't help. But overall, this NIL situation, it is funny. It's kind of ironic how you get so many people in the college football world say Ohio State is the one northern team that acts like they're from the South. They operate like they're from the South. They get talent like it. And then it comes out and their collective is being like goody two-shoes. We're not going to bend the rules at all. Wow, that is mind-blowing and that is ignorant. Because I think anyone can see and look at this. And honestly, if I was Ryan Day, and this is true, because there's been rumors that Ohio State, if NIL wasn't in the picture, would have 4 or 5 5-stars in their class, including multiple 5-star defensive ends. Now, maybe that's just cope. And they're coping and they're trying to use it as an excuse. But I don't know, guys. Either way, what an absolute mess. You would think Ohio State, every study shows they have the biggest fan base, and they can't find the money for NIL. And it's like a weird combination of Ohio State not wanting to commit guaranteed deals to these kids because it's illegal. But then I thought they were going to do that this year because everyone else was doing it, but apparently they're not. And on top of that, they have such a bad NIL collective who goes on Twitter, badmouths the fans. This is not the proper way to be running things. You need a complete new collective to come in and clean everything up and create some type of subscription plan, a brand new website, because this is a complete and utter failure. And now you have the own collective calling out and lashing out against the fans and responding to every fan and saying, did you donate money? These people shouldn't have to donate money. You should have boosters donating. That's really what should be going on. And if you really want people to donate, you need to set up a website. But again, guys, the whole idea of normal people donating to pay 17-year-old kids and allow them to buy Ferraris, folks, listen, again, they'll say, oh, so you don't want, the program's going to get worse. I wouldn't donate a dime to any college for NIL, bro. Come on. Let's be real. I'm not giving a 17-year-old kid money to buy a Ferrari. Really? Why doesn't a billionaire booster go do it? To me, that's ridiculous. But I do know fans that will do it if you set it up properly, and certainly the idea that you have less money than some of these other schools is crazy considering the size of the fan base. It's just a totally botched job by the way the NIL situation was set up for Ohio State. And basically everyone within recruiting admits it. And it's not just Ohio State. Michigan's having a very tough time as well. And I think they actually called out Michigan in one of these tweets about the current NIL situation. Yeah, here it is. Here's the tweet. I found it. We have received an extreme amount of hate this week for getting 2 spots behind SEC collectives, but not a single fan is mentioning how we're outperforming Michigan's NIL efforts by a lot. What does this say about our priorities and cultures as fans have drifted on target? I don't even know what this means. I don't think Michigan cares that they're behind Ohio State's NIL collective. Michigan just destroyed Ohio State and totally embarrassed them in Columbus. This foundation needs to be completely defunded. It is embarrassing that they're even tweeting about this. Yeah, let's take a shot at Michigan after they just embarrassed Ohio State with about 2 times less talent. No, but let's take a shot at them. Yes, that's great. What an absolute mess this is. And then they keep going after the fans and stuff. And I just think the 12-team playoff, for Ohio State's sake, it couldn't come any sooner. Ohio State needs this 12-team playoff. The Big Ten needs this 12-team playoff so badly. You just want to have a shot at it. And I'll be honest, if I was Ryan Day and you are recruiting these kids and the only reason you're losing these 5-star kids like Wilson, like Caleb Downs, to the SEC is because of money, dude, I would just go to the NFL. Like, that is so annoying. I don't know if that's true. I mean, let's be honest. Ohio State's defense has not been good. If you're a recruit choosing between Ohio State and Alabama, I mean, honestly, you'd probably pick Alabama, especially if you're a defensive player. But I don't know. Who knows what's true, what's not. Either way, the NIL situation for Ohio State is a complete mess, and their head is still in the sand in terms of following the so-called rules that nobody's following, and it's only going to create a horrible situation for Ohio State where they get less talent. And the thing that you want to avoid is, like, we saw what happened between Michigan and Georgia last year, and people were like, well, Georgia crushed Michigan. Guys, if you would understand actually what happened in that game, Georgia had about 30 better athletes than Michigan. Like, it was just it's like a varsity facing a JV. Like, that was Georgia versus, that's what you're trying to avoid, and that's why you need to recruit well against the SEC. You want to avoid having so much less talent. No matter how good your game plan is, no matter how good Jim Harbaugh was in his game plan against Georgia last year, it didn't matter. Georgia had 20 times the better talent than Michigan did, and they properly executed, and there's no way to beat that. It's like when you're a JV team facing a varsity team, it's impossible. That's why you need to not have a gap form, and Ohio State's done a really good job with this under Ryan Day of staying within striking distance in terms of talent of the Georgias, of the Alabamas. But if you're constantly losing out on these 5-star kids to SEC schools, that becomes a big issue due to the NIL situation. So we will see, guys, what ends up happening, but it does look like a bad close to the 2023 class for Ohio State. It is unfortunate. But guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.